there's something called the federal do not call list. So it's a government list, and it says that if you're on this list, they're not allowed to call you. And if they do, you can charge them $1,500 for every call. So the first thing the robot will do is it will do all the clicking and sign you up to this government list. Once you're on the list, the next time you get a call, you can trap them. Like I said, you can pick up the phone and say, yes, I'm very interested in what you're selling. Here's my card number. But instead of giving your real card number, you're giving this honey trap. And that's how it gets all the details. And then finally, the software and the AI generates this demand letter saying, you violated the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. Please give me the settlement money. What they're worried about is other people figuring out that they've done something wrong. And so they will often settle and sign a confidentiality agreement. They'll say, I'm not going to give you $1,500, but I'll give you $750 if you don't tell anyone. And that's good for consumers because they could just sign it and get their money.
Hey, this is Matt Cox, and I am here with Joshua Brower. He is the founder and CEO of DoNotPay. He's got a really interesting thing that he's doing right now, so we're going to get into the interview. Check it out.
My company helps people fight back using AI. It gets people money from big companies and people scamming them, gets them justice. The first use case a few years ago was parking tickets, helping people get out of their tickets. And we've since expanded to over 200 areas of the law, including what you were mentioning, which is suing robocallers. There's an amazing law. It says you can get $1,500 every time someone calls you. But these robocallers, they hide behind spam identities. They don't tell you who they are. And so what we've built at DoNotPay is a trap. And that is a credit card. And when they try and sell you something, you can give them the credit card and the transaction declines, but it gets their business name, address, and phone number. And then the AI generates a demand letter and lawsuit to get you your money. And this is really popular with people because these robocallers are just getting out of control and someone needs to fight back against them.
Right. Well, let's go back to the beginning. Obviously, you weren't born in San Francisco.
That's right. So as you can tell from my accent, I'm from London, England originally. I moved here when I was 18 to study at Stanford. And I'll use the excuse that the Americans drive on the other side of the road, but really, I was a terrible driver and got maybe 30 parking tickets when I was starting driving. I was really bad. And I was a college student and I couldn't afford to pay these really expensive tickets. And so I had to figure out other ways to get out of them. And I researched all of the laws and I realized if you know the right things to say, not just in parking tickets, but also in life, you can save a lot of money. And so I started writing these letters and remarkably, they were all successful. And soon my family and friends were asking for my help getting out of the tickets. And I was writing the same letter over and over again to help them. And I created DoNotPay just to make things a bit more simple. And I could never have imagined that even though it was just for a few family and friends, it would go internationally viral. And everyone hates parking tickets. And that's what made me realize that the idea of helping people with AI and automating legal rights is bigger than just tickets. And I can expand to so many other areas where people are being ripped off or don't know what to say because they don't have the time and money to fight back.
Right. Well, okay. So, I mean, in England, are you an only child? Are your parents in the law, involved in law work? Are they lawyers? Are they in the tech industry?
So I'm one of six. So there's a big family. My dad is not a lawyer, but he's actually involved in human rights. He's before it became cool to fight Russia, he was a big anti-Russia human rights activist. And he didn't teach me anything about the law, but one thing he taught me is to be fearless. And if you are upset with something, you should stand up for yourself. And I think that's, although I'm not fighting against the Russian mafia, fighting against parking tickets and robocallers, it's still a small aspect of that, standing up for what you believe in. And I think everyday people should do that too. These big companies know that you can't afford to fight back over $20. People are so busy, they don't have time to wait on hold for 4 hours to get $20 back from Wells Fargo. And that's what these big companies know, and they're using that. And so it's a good job for software to fight back for people.
Right. Okay, so how did you end up at Stanford?
So when I was about 13 or 14, I taught myself to code using their YouTube videos. This was before the days they had of these like coding academies and everything. I just used YouTube. And there were these Stanford YouTube videos and they were amazing. And I thought, if this is what the YouTube videos are like, one can only imagine what it's like to actually be there with the palm trees. And it was a dream come true. I think people are much more ambitious in America than they are in England. There seems like a ceiling on ambition in London and England as a whole. But in Silicon Valley, it's almost delusional. The sky is the limit. And so you can create something and not have to ask anyone's permission, just build the world that you want.
Okay. So, I mean, you applied for Stanford. I mean, what was your specific goal in going to Stanford?
My goal was to meet like-minded people. Right. These days, everyone has an app, everyone has a tech project. But when I was growing up, there was very few people like building these things. And I wanted to find people like me because in my high school, I was maybe one or two kids one of two kids who knew how to code. And I just wanted to be around more like-minded people and build projects with other people.
Okay. And you got to Stanford, you started this. When did you actually turn it into a company? I mean, I understand you're saying it slowly took effect, but when did you did you graduate Stanford?
No, so I dropped out after 3.5 years. I took something called the Thiel Fellowship, where Peter Thiel pays people like me to drop out and work on companies instead. I didn't drop out because I took the Thiel Fellowship. I dropped out because I was too busy with my company. We were
At
just
3.5 years. You're 2 semesters away, or no, you're like a semester away.
It got to the point where I would forget to renew the server for my website, and the whole thing would go down, and we would lose customers. And so it was really a point of where all in or backing out. And it was such a great opportunity that I wanted to take it and build my dream. I actually got a bunch of friends together and we rented out the house where Facebook was started in Palo Alto. And when I dropped out, we were building DoNotPay from that. And it was exactly like the movie, The Social Network. We're living together, like 24/7 working, drinking like these energy drinks to stay, not having time to eat. And it was a really amazing time.
Okay. So all right. So you said you kind of expanded you're expanding into different arenas as far as like fighting back. What are those?
When I launched and I got all this usage, I had a contact form on my website, and nobody knew that there was just this college student from their dorm room building this. And so they would write in saying, they would think I was a law firm or something, saying, can you help me? Comcast just overcharged me. Or can you help me? My landlord is evicting me. And this gave me all these ideas for expansion. And so one by one, I spent the time with heads down building out these new features in the Facebook house. And the very next service we launched was airline services, then bill negotiation, and all of these different things to help people. And what's really exciting is the business DoNotPay started as templates. So here's a template to get out of your parking ticket. But now in the AI era, we're actually using true AI to negotiate back and forth. So one service we have is AI bill negotiation. And the way it works is the AI will log into your utility account, open up the online chat, and the AI will start chatting with them to negotiate your bill. And what's interesting is the big companies are using AI, we're using AI, so the two AIs are negotiating. It's a battle to help people. And we're more motivated, so our AI is better, and so we win a lot of cases for people.
How do you charge it? Is it just a simple fee, or is there a subscription?
It's a subscription. It's $18 a month, and someone gets access to all of DoNotPay services. And it has a very high ROI because we have people, they save hundreds or thousands of dollars a year. Going back to robocalls, we have someone, it was his full-time job for a while suing robocallers. He made about $50,000. He even bought a new roof for his house from all the robocall settlements. So we like to think that it's a lot cheaper than hiring a lawyer to do all this, because there's not a lawyer who's going to get out of bed to fight Comcast for you.
Well, so how does the robocall thing work? Like, I mean, they have to do a certain thing, right? I get them, I get them all the time. They, that shows up saying, sometimes it'll show up saying, having a person's name.
Yeah. So, there's something called the federal do not call list. So it's a government list, and it says that if you're on this list, they're not allowed to call you. And if they do, you can charge them $1,500 for every call. So the first thing the robot will do is it will do all the clicking and sign you up to this government list. Once you're on the list, the next time you get a call, you can trap them. Like I said, you can pick up the phone and say, yes, I'm very interested in what you're selling. Here's my card number. But instead of giving your real card number, you're giving this honey trap. And that's how it gets all the details. And then finally, the software and the AI generates this demand letter saying, you violated the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. Please give me the settlement money. And then if that doesn't work, you can even file a court case in small claims court to get your money.
Yeah, and it's cheaper for them to just pay it than it is for them to actually go to court.
Yeah, what they're worried about is other people figuring out that they've done something wrong. And so they will often settle and sign a confidentiality agreement. They'll say, I'm not going to give you $1,500, but I'll give you $750 if you don't tell anyone. And that's good for consumers because they could just sign it and get their money.
I mean, are they allowed to hide their, hide behind like a do not, where it won't tell you who's calling. It doesn't tell you, like the service plan I have tells me who everybody is that calls. And I'll get the things where it says possible scam or possible telemarketer, but it doesn't say who's calling.
Exactly. So
when they call, I'm saying when a robocall calls, I mean.
So the government is stepping in and they're trying to stop this at a government level. And so they're saying to all the telephone networks, you have to identify who's calling you. But the robocallers are making so much money that they're finding ways around these regulations. And this is a problem in life in general. I think I call it concentrated benefit, but spread out harm. So what I mean by that is a big company can charge 10 million people a $10 late fee. They make $100 million, but the people being charged $10 fee, they have no ability to fight back. And so it's so profitable for these robocallers and big companies to break the law that they still do it, even though there are all these rules around it.
Okay. Do you have, are there any, I don't know why this makes me think of, there's a comedian who writes letters back and forth.
Tristan Veach.
Oh, yeah. He had a book about memos or...
Yeah, it's very funny.
I don't know why it makes me think of that.
So we've actually built another product around this. So if you get a spam email, so we had a lot of people saying, I don't get that many robocalls, but I get a lot of spam emails. And so we wanted to build a product to help them. And we built a product like an AI version of that comedian where it will engage them in endless conversation using AI. So this is another thing, just wasting time of these scammers to stop them from doing bad things. If they're all up with the AI, then they don't have time to scam people.
Yeah, it makes me think of when the scammers call from like India and they'll get on the phone and act like a retiree or an older person, and they'll just keep them on the line as long as possible to wear them down and get them frustrated. And
whenever a new technology comes out, it's typically used for evil first. So what we're seeing at DoNotPay is there's a lot of these scammers, they're using fake voices. So imagine someone gets a call from their relative, but it's not actually their relative asking for money, with deep fakes and things like that. And so we're trying to give power to the people to level the playing field and fight fire with fire.
Yeah, what's going to happen when, like right now, they have programs where I can basically, they can take a 20-minute or an hour-long tape of my voice, recording
even 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I saw one where it was like the more you gave them, the better it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what's going to happen when you start thinking you got a call from your wife and she asks you to wire money. Like that's
Now you have a good excuse to say no.
right.
But no, in all seriousness, I think it's a huge problem and society is going to have to deal with it.
I had another question. There was one I watched where people were getting like you were scheduling or getting rescheduled for like the DMV.
Yeah.
That was one of the services, is that you guys will call and reschedule or go on the DMV website to try and get you placed higher.
Yeah. So we have a bot that will phone up the DMV and say with a fake voice, I want an appointment, and it will keep phoning up like 1,000 times a day to get you an appointment until it finds a cancellation. And this is another job for AI. AI is not perfect. It's not going to replace lawyers arguing in the Supreme Court anytime soon, but it definitely can get you a DMV appointment and save people time and energy is what it's all about.
Okay. How long has the company been around?
So I've been working on it for about 7 years, but it's been a company for about 5 years. When I was at Stanford and I got all of this press and virality, eventually the VCs started to take notice, and then we made it into a business.
Okay, so you got venture capital.
That's right. Yeah.
How many subscribers do you have right now?
We have over 200,000 subscribers. So, and we're only a team of 7 people. So that's the amazing thing about software. You can build something and then it scales infinitely.
What other, do you have any other services that are, I mean?
Yeah. So one thing we do is we cancel hundreds of thousands of subscriptions every year. I joke that you don't need AI to cancel a subscription, but in America, it's such a broken country that you do.
Yeah.
So some gyms, they make you sign this legal letter and have to send it off just to stop them from billing you. The New York Times, you have to chat with an agent to cancel your subscription. And that's a great job for AI. It goes in and it cancels the subscription for you. And all these barriers that these big companies put in the way, such as saying, hey, do you want to stay for 3 more months at a discounted rate, and just to waste your time and get you to give in? AI is ruthless and it will just get through all of that and get it done. So we like to think that, so these big companies, they do things called dark patterns, where it's these business strategies to rip people off, and AI is the solution to that.
What about like credit dispute letters? What if you've got bad credit, or can it do those that help fix your credit or help get things taken off your credit?
Yeah. So my mission at DoNotPay is to replace lawyers so that the average person doesn't need to hire a lawyer. And we looked at credit dispute companies, and these companies are evil because they charge people thousands of dollars just to do a very simple fix on their credit report. And so we decided to replace them. And we didn't know anything about credit reporting. And so what we did is I had one of my team members interview for a job at a credit repair agency to find out exactly what they do so that we could automate it with AI. And we figured out what they did, and we've got that as a product now. And similar to other types of disputes, it's really about just sending in these letters under the Fair Credit Reporting Act and causing so much paperwork for these companies that they don't respond, and then the consumer wins and the negative items get removed. And that would be something that a consumer would previously pay thousands of dollars for, but it's now included in our list of services, and people love that.
Do you have any stories or anything of any specific cases, or any more of anything interesting that I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Any interesting cases that you've handled?
Yeah, recently we had an elderly consumer from Boston use our service to get out of a timeshare. They had got suckered into the timeshare agreement, and the AI found a way out. There's a cooling off period in the timeshare agreement and by law, and it generated this really aggressive letter and got this person out of the timeshare. I think they were like over the age of 80. And the timeshare was actually in Mexico. So it's not even just about US law sometimes. It can go cross-border in helping people. And it's really a shame, like the kind of number of people who are getting ripped off every day is really sad. In the UK, I feel like it's a much fairer country. The consumer rights are much stronger. So, for example, if your flight is delayed in England, where I'm from, you get the refund automatically to your bank account. In the US, you have to apply for the refund. And so there's all these hoops you have to jump through that we're dealing with every day.
Yeah, I was going to say, this was a while ago. This is probably 20 years ago. I remember we went to a hotel in Puerto Rico, my wife and I at the time, and several things happened. Like, it was a really nice hotel, but several things happened. Like, every time I would enter the hotel, we would get stopped and asked for our key. And like the third day, I said, "But why do you guys keep it's, first of all, it's the same guy." I was like, "Why do you keep doing this?" Asking me. And he said, "Well, there's a nightclub upstairs and people use the elevator here when they should go around. So we check the keys. We check to make sure you have your card, your room card." Yeah. I remember going, like, it was my wife and I were dressed like tourists. We had a baby with us. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not going to the club with the baby. So that happened. And another thing happened was a staff member walked into our room one morning at like 7:30 in the morning. Like, just knocked on the door, opened the door and walked in. And we were like, hey, what are you doing? And they were like, oh, and the guy had a drill. They were fixing something. And we were like, whoa. And he left. And there was one other issue. I remember I went back to my office and I wrote a letter when I got back from vacation. I wrote a letter and they sent us like 5 days, 4 nights, 5 days and 4 nights for free. And I there was another time that, like, my son had thrown used to be Game Boys. He threw a Game Boy down on the ground. He was like 3 and it broke. And I just mailed it back to the company with a letter saying, "We love your product." And I said exactly what happened. Admittedly, my son threw this on the ground. Is there any way I could pay to have it fixed? Now, I know they can't fix it. Instead, they sent us a brand new one with a bunch of games. So sometimes just responding, in a way, it gets you something, because nobody responds. I mean, nobody writes letters.
Yeah, I'm the exact same person as you. I believe in the justice. It's not always about the money, but even just getting that refund or getting what's right is so important to me. And so I'm the type of person to wait on hold for 5 hours just to get that $100 refund. And what I'm trying to do is scale us. You sound very good at writing these letters, but not everyone has the time or the skills to do it. And that's what we're automating with DoNotPay.
Yeah, it's funny. We had a couple that were friends, and my wife at the time had told them, "Oh, Matt wrote a letter and got us whatever, 4 nights, 5 days, whatever." And so she ended up writing a letter, whatever, weeks later for an issue, and they came back and they just gave her an apology. And she was like, "I don't understand. I wrote them that nothing happened." I go, "What did you say?" "I told them that the hotel was horrible. I told them that I would never stay there again. I told them," and I was like, whoa, you didn't give them an out. You didn't give them an opportunity to correct the situation. You just told them you're horrible. You'll never use them again. I asked them, "Is there any way for us to rectify this? We love your hotel. We stay there all the time. Our friends and family stay there." So I structured it to give them an out. She didn't give them an out.
Yeah. So in AI, there's something called prompting, which is where you tell the AI how to negotiate or what you want AI to say. And we completely agree with you. We say, we want you to say all these laws. We feed it, we train it about the laws, but we say you have to be polite. And that's the most important thing, because no one wants to give something to a bad person. If you're rude or impolite, they're not going to give you a refund as quickly. We actually have one product. It scans your email bookings for hotels. And every time you're about to check into a hotel, a few days before, it writes to the manager and writes a really polite, nice note saying, "Hey, I love your hotel so much." It uses data like, "This is my first booking," or I'm the first time I'm in the city. Do you potentially open to giving me an upgrade? And it works a very high rate because it's a personal touch. So I agree, it's not always about the law, it's being about a charismatic, nice kind of letter as well.
So how do you see this scaling? I mean, at what rate? Is there a ceiling to it? How is your growth, I guess, for the company?
I'm biased, but I think everyone in America and one day the world can use a robot lawyer to help them. One day I want to go international. UK is a slightly better, less broken country than the US, but it's still got serious problems. And so I want to expand there. Australia, Canada, anywhere where there's rule of law, I think it will work well. We've got our work cut out for us here in America first. We're launching new products every week. Last week, we launched a product that phones up UPS and FedEx, and when they promise 2-day delivery and they give it in 3 days, it phones them up and get a refund. So we're figuring out a way to automate all of these different areas, but every problem and worldwide, I think, is where we want to take it.
Right. What about politicians? Do you have anything that will write your local politician?
We have that today. Yeah. And also writing to inmates. There are these really exploitative companies that charge you like $5 to send a message, and we've automated it with the mail. So politicians and inmates you can write to using DoNotPay. There's too many services to name.
Okay. What's one of the newest services?
One service we have is called the free trial credit card. So a lot of people, they sign up for a free trial and they obviously forget to cancel. So we've built a credit card that is a burner credit card that you can use that's not linked to you. So you can use it for all your free trials and things like that, and reservations as well. And when they try and charge you, it declines. So that's really popular service with people.
What kind of how are you advertising this?
We do a lot of social, which is how you found out about us. We also do SEO. So we publish about 50,000 consumer guides on our website. So things like how to sue United, how to get a refund from Comcast. People find it organically on Google, and every 3 paragraphs there's a button that says solve this problem for me. And of course, people don't like to read. They just would prefer that software does it for them. So that's really it. We don't spend that much money on advertising. People just love our product, and word of mouth, and those two ways is how we grow.
So you're saying social, you do social media, but I mean, I saw your Instagram. Do you have TikTok or?
We have TikTok. We're really doubling down on it. I've realized the power of it. So not advertising on those platforms, but just content that appeals to people. So I think the way you discovered us is we did this post about how to sue robocallers, and I think it got 100,000 likes or something crazy like that. And people really resonate with this stuff. Everyone is busy and gets money taken out of their account every day, and so where they see this content, it helps them fight back.
Do you do all the advertising, or do you have anyone else do it also?
No, I do it. One of my teammates does it. We're not experts at anything. We just love what we do and figure things out as we go. I think I would love to go into how it actually works.
Yeah, I would love to hear how. Okay.
Yeah. So
my fear is that that's probably more technical than my ability. But
very high level. So when ChatGPT first came out, it was a much simpler AI. It was called GPT-3. And about 6 months later, the company behind ChatGPT came up with a more sophisticated AI called GPT-4. And what we've seen at DoNotPay is that, and we're using this ourselves. So businesses like ours can plug into ChatGPT and use it for our disputes. And when they upgraded the AI, it became almost 10 times better for what we're doing. So when we were negotiating with Comcast, for example, the old AI, the old ChatGPT, would say things like, Comcast would say, I'll give you a $20 discount. And then our AI would say, sounds good, thank you so much. But now the new AI says, no, I want $100 because there's been 4 outages in the past 24 hours. And so what's really exciting is we're seeing firsthand just how good the technology is getting. And every week it feels like we're making years of progress. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen like next year as well with GPT-5.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, my wife's daughter will talk to, like, it's a friend and go,
Yeah.
like, first time she discovered this app, she went like all day.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, we would joke that like you only had like online friends,
Yeah.
that you had these friends, these Facebook friends
Yeah.
that you never ever met. But now it's not even
my day too. I'm getting old. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend in Silicon Valley. He's building a company that makes AI girlfriends. And that's not a world I want to live in. But I suppose it can help lots of lonely people.
Yeah, I mean, I have a buddy who just sent me he had Chat GPT write an article about me, just by stuff it found on the internet. Read this whole article, and I have a friend that uses it all the time to write stuff, and he'll go through and as he's proofreading it, he'll alter little bits and pieces, but it is amazing. It's amazing that the responses and the well, anyway, all this. Anyway.
Yeah, well, there is a problem, which is the AI is very dishonest. So the way they train the AI is they make it like us, and humans are very dishonest in general. And so what we see in our disputes sometimes is the AI is lying on the consumer's behalf. So earlier I mentioned the ChatGPT AI would say, oh, I've had four internet outages recently, and that would just not be true. And so from a legal liability perspective, we have to tell the AI, make sure you stick to the truth.
Right.
And same with writing stories about you, it could make things up. And there's been plenty of cases where someone has asked ChatGPT about someone, and ChatGPT has said, this person is a convicted criminal, and it's just not true. And it would cause a lot of problems for OpenAI, the company behind it. And so,
in my case, that is true. But,
yeah, well, it's access to justice is something I feel very strongly about. But that I didn't come up with that based on your example. It would say like, this person is like not well respected. I'm not sure. It would just say these mean things.
Yeah, well, like there's stuff that it will pull, the sources it's pulling from.
Yeah.
Say Wikipedia, for example.
Yeah.
There are things on Wikipedia about me that aren't true that it mentioned, or it would say things like, there was somebody had said something about like I was on the FBI's, like I was number one on the FBI's most wanted list, and that wasn't true. And then that showed up.
Yeah. And I feel like consumers have rights. You should be able to fight back against that. If I was going on TV and saying all these untrue things, I could get sued. And the same is true about an AI. Someone has to take responsibility for what it does.
Yeah, I can't get Wikipedia. Yeah. I've actually got the guy who has my Wikipedia page, who posted it. I've argued with him, and I remember at one point I said, look, bro, this is not true. Like what he said.
Yeah.
And listen, most of it is true, but there's a few things I'm like, I'm just trying to be accurate. And he said, remember he came back, he said, Matt Cox is not an expert on Matt Cox. I thought, I'm not trying to be an expert. I'm just basing it on the facts. But yeah, it's difficult.
So there are a lot of disadvantages to AI, which is what I was saying, but there's also a lot of advantages, which is it's not biased. It's not that biased. And that's why I think it has some room in law, because it doesn't really care who you are. It just is objective. It's statistical, so it's flawed, but at least it's somewhat objective. Like, AI would never say you're not an expert.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm very interested in the credit aspect of it. For instance, there's my wife actually has a family member that has some credit issues, and I was thinking about writing some letters, to try and get some medical collections taken off of her credit.
So the way it works is once you open up a dispute, the person who put the debt on the credit report has a certain amount of time to respond, and they're so busy with paperwork that if you just keep forcing them to respond, they'll eventually forget or not be bothered. And then when they don't respond, you win by default. So that's the way that these shady credit repair agencies work. And it's an easy job to automate.
Yeah, it's funny. I moved out of an apartment like a year and a half ago. When I moved out, they wanted to keep my deposit. And listen, I left that apartment as clean as when I moved in it, vacuumed it, cleaned the carpets, painted, you put stuff in the walls, patched and painted the walls. And they had a whole list of things that they said they had to do. Luckily, I took all these photos. But the big thing was I just started arguing with them back and forth. And I wore them down, and they ended up, it was like a $300 deposit. They ended up keeping like $42 or something ridiculous. But they were keeping that when it started off, they said I owed them $50.
Yeah, it's half the battle in life is just standing up for yourself. And this is my life philosophy. Not everyone has the time or the confidence sometimes to do it. That's why machines can do it on people's behalf.
So I have a question. When people sign up for the subscription, do they have to pay like a year in advance, or is it just month to month?
2 months in advance.
2 months in advance? Okay.
Yeah, because that's what we see as the success time for most of our disputes. If you think about like getting a parking ticket back and things like that.
Hey, I really appreciate you guys watching. If you like the video, do me a favor and share the video to your friends and family. Subscribe. Also, we're going to leave all of Joshua's links in the description box, and he's got some really interesting videos on Instagram. So check it out, and do me a favor and leave me a comment in the comment section. I try and respond to as many as I possibly can. And I really appreciate you guys watching. See ya. So we're going to be going over, this is real, I didn't think this through, scams we admire. Like, I'm trying to be like a clean-cut guy.
Well, it doesn't mean you can't admire something.
No.
It's like you have a beautiful wife.
That's true.
Right? But then you might admire another woman. You might say, hey, Cindy Crawford is attractive. You might see another. So you can, rehabilitate and say, that's clever.
Jess has killed just about every animal there is in Florida.
Oh,
nice. She's butchered them.
Bare hands?
She can cut them open, take out the guts, skin them, and put all the good stuff in a freezer, and then eat it. She's already told me they'll never find your body. She's like, I get it. Like, there are girls that cute, they flirt with you, they send you messages, and I get it, and that's great. She goes, but I'm just letting you know, they'll never find your body. And I didn't even have to follow up on that. I don't know, what does that mean? What do you? I was just like, I just knew it was ominous. Just
got it. No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
Listen, she's got me so scared. Like when women, you will text me, they'll text you, they'll hit you up on Instagram or whatever, hey, how's it going? Or, wow, you're amazing. And I'll listen, within the first sentence or two, it's like, yeah, my wife thinks so. like just in case it's a plant,
right?
In case she's trying to go around like, hey, I need you to send something to Matt.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're not sucker.
So you're one step ahead of that.
Oh yeah.
That's that mentality.
Yeah.
That's the mentality, like, for you people that with cons and schemes, the mentality of looking at it from the reverse angle. That's what I always call it too.
That'll keep you alive.
Yes.
Or out of jail.
When you spin it around and you say, you know what, let me try to see it from the other perspective coming back towards me. Yeah, no. Nah. I'm not falling for it.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah.
So what is the scam? What is a scam? Because there's no one scam.
No.
But is there a scam or what scams?
A scam, like, for the definition of this podcast, is kind of an idea to gain money. Like, I might have an idea like, hey, I might have come across a checkbook and go, you know what? I got an idea. I'm going to write a check off of this guy's account who we don't know to you. You're going to deposit in your account. And we're going to split it.
Right.
And you might go, hey, I'm down with that. You know what I'm saying? That is what I
don't know who would be. You'd be shocked. Look at you. You'd be shocked.
You would be shocked.
I know a guy.
Yeah, you would absolutely be shocked. It's unbelievable. But that is a scam. Or I consider a scam is like the what I was privy to was the shoplifters. Like I knew 4 ladies that did shoplifting, right? And like I was lucky enough to sit in on one of their meetings, because they have one person that draws in the security. So the other 3 are actually going to steal and get away, and the other one's going to draw security. And
draw security, like act like she's doing, not steal anything.
Be absolutely sloppy.
Obvious.
Yes.
So that security kind of hangs out and kind of watches her. And
right.
They really focus on her.
And what they do is they come in all separate, and then they all watch her to see if she's being watched. Let's go. That is a scam. Because they're
choreographed.
Yes. Well, something that's I was pre-planned, but I want to use the legal term premeditated.
That's when you've turned a corner.
Yes,
when you start using
when
you start using the legal term.
Yes,
the law enforcement term.
So premeditated. So if I told you, hey, I'm going to write you a check, this is premeditated. Whereas I could have just wrote you a check and said, hey, I'm going to give you $100. I need you to cash it. I could lie,
right?
But to put everyone in on it is the scam. We're all working together to obtain money. That is what we call a scam.
Yeah.
So that's what because what happened was scheme.
Scheme really isn't illegal, by the way. The term scheme.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Scheme is to me
sounds illegal.
Well, right. Scheme seems singular. Like if you use the word scheme, it seems like it would only be one person.
Really?
Yeah, a scheme seems like, so then in my mind, a scheme would have a mastermind, which means like that one person is the ultimate benefactor, and all, I spent a lot of time in jail thinking about the differences. So does it reflect?
I think whatever. They're synonyms. Anyway, whatever, roughly. So
like one person benefiting. So you got the little benefactors out there. So
that
a scam is a group effort. Like, hey, I got an idea.
Okay, so what happened? I disagree, but what happened? What I don't understand. So that's the scam you admire? The one where they're shoplifting, or just you admire the fact that they drew law enforcement away?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the brilliance of it. Well, you would say that only because I'm given the simplicity of it.
Right.
But to watch that in action, because it works. So the one person that's the person that draws the attention actually gets stopped at the register.
Right. And what's so funny is that they're not in any jeopardy at all.
No. And the other people leave with they have orders of stuff going in. It's unbelievable. They have orders of stuff going in, and the one girl stopped at the register. Oh, and she gives them a sob story and cries. And then 20 minutes, they're texting on the phone, and it's like they're gonna let me go, and then they end up letting them go with, hey, don't ever come back in the store. Warning.
Right.
But the whole time it's like, okay, we got like $6,000 worth of stuff.
You're saying she really does steal stuff? And they get caught, or she
gets stopped at the register.
She makes it look like.
Right.
I was going to say, like,
clumsy.
to me, like in front of them, like with the camera, I would kind of show myself like putting stuff in a bag and then move to a spot and then take the stuff out of the bag.
Oh,
see what I'm saying? Like to me, you get up to the cash register and then they'd come and they'd grab you. Like, oh no, empty your bag, and you'd empty the bag. You'd be like, what? They'd be like, holy Jesus. Like, I saw her. I could see that would be right. And then they'd have to let you go. It's like, what are you talking? Oh, yeah. No, I did put a skirt. I did put the skirt in there. And then I realized, oh, wait a second. This looks bad. I took it out. And then I thought, well, I don't even want this. So I just left it on the counter. It's over there. So, but I was going to say, what that reminds me of is the Romanian wall. It was called the Romanian wall, where there was people from Romania. Or the gypsy wall, they called it too. So people would go into and they had video of 7-Elevens and stuff where there would be like 6 or 8 people would come in and in a group, and and so the person at the counter, let's say 7-Eleven, would look and see this group move, coming in, and they create almost like a wall. They're just kind of bundled together, and somebody else would walk in, crouch down, and walk in behind them. So the camera sees them, but the other camera sees the person. But this guy's not watching the camera; he's watching these people.
Right.
So they come in, and then they kind of move through the store, and They have kind of a direction where they're kind of walking and moving. And the one guy, somebody says, hey, something to the cashier, and he looks over here, and the person who's bent down, who he doesn't even know is in the store, kind of like moves towards the cash register. He's right there. And so as these guys are talking, he's moving around the cash register, and literally they have videos of these guys where the guy he'll go behind the cash register with the guy and like go into and steal like all kinds of stuff that's back there that's hidden while these guys are loud and they're playing music and they're talking and banging stuff and doing this, and he's kind of just watching, steal stuff, go back, then they pull the wall back together and the guy walks out with them, and all they've bought is like a stick of gum. And he walks out with, whatever, hundreds of dollars of cartons of cigarettes. Or there have been times where they've gone into the safe. There have been times where they said like they took a gun. They got a gun.
How?
And then later they'd look at the camera and they'd be like, oh my God. And if you watch it, you're like, this is insane.
Watching that in play, the know that's choreographed, because like you have to wonder, do they practice that?
They have to practice, right? Like it's if you watch the videos on YouTube and stuff, you're just going, this is nuts. You're almost like, how could he not? And you're like, okay, I get it, but from his perspective, he's not seeing it. He's only seeing these groups of people. And then once the guy gets under the counter, he's done. He would have to turn around and start looking at the videos that are shooting from the other way. And who's doing that? He's trying to see if these guys are stealing. And they are. They're not. They're stealing. They're
the distraction.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That reminds me. That's what I'm saying. It's the same kind of thing.
Right.
You're just drawing their attention.
To away. And that's a scam.
Yeah. Do you remember? I shouldn't even say this. Do you remember when we were talking about
I'm thinking Barrington, but go ahead.
No. I'm thinking when we were when we were locked up, and we were talk about the identity theft scam, where it was like, what if someone stole somebody's identity? Like, I steal your identity.
Right.
Which, given that you're a man of color, would be difficult. But let's assume I steal your identity. I get a driver's license in your name. I run up all your credit cards. I then borrow money against your house, the whole thing. But I happen to have LifeLock. Do you remember this?
Yes.
So this was what we used to joke about, and it was, and then when suddenly you start getting the credit cards, the whole thing, like I would do that because I'm not worried about him. The worst problem would be that the person you stole their identity finds out and calls the police, but I know he's not going to call. What's going to happen is once the first credit cards start showing up, you then call the police. Hey, look, I got an issue, man. I got like a $40,000 credit card bill.
Right.
Someone took my credit card. You call your credit card company. You do this, and then more bills start showing up. You start going, oh, whoa, I need somebody to come out here. Like, I got like $100,000 in credit card debt.
Right.
Somebody stole my credit cards. No, I don't know. I have them on me. Or maybe I lost my wallet, but I didn't give anybody my PIN numbers. Like, this is ridiculous.
Right.
And so you do all that. You run it all up. Then you find out maybe there's a mortgage on their house, or somebody took out a $50,000 personal loan in your name. You're like, oh my God.
Right.
So we were talking about like, you run it up to like $200,000-$300,000. Like, it's insane. You're calling the police. But the interesting thing about that was that what we were saying, well, what you were saying really was, you were like, but I know what's going on because I can call the police and say, well, do you have any leads? Well, what's happening?
Right.
Well, what happened with, and the police would be like, look, we're doing it. We found this. There was a P.O. box that was opened.
Right.
Well, who opened the P.O. box? Well, we can't find the person that opened the P.O. So you're going through the whole thing, or it was an abandoned house. It's actually in your neighborhood. What? But you would know, because at some point they would say, look, we're just out of option. We don't know what to do. And you're also involved because the credit card people are contacting you.
Right.
So at some point, even if there was a prosecution, the worst that could happen is you were saying you could say, look, I'm not going to participate in that prosecution. I got my money back. The credit card companies paid the money back, and we got the thing with the mortgage taken care of, and I don't want any trouble with I don't know who you arrested, but I don't want any trouble with that person. Right. And then being the person, if they did end up getting arrested, I could then say, man, I'm going to trial. And they
You don't have the victim.
They'd be like, Jesus, knowing when the prosecutor comes in and says, "Oh, listen, this guy's going to show up. He's going to testify." He'd be like, "Is he? I can't wait to see him." We had this whole thing laid out,
Right.
And the other one was the identity theft, the LifeLock, was that you could also claim against LifeLock,
Right.
to say
you could sue for allowing all that to happen.
right. But when we were locked up, you and I thought, and I know differently now, but we thought, remember they say up to $1 million. It was $1 million in legal fees that they would pay to fix it. We were thinking that was like insurance that they would,
Right.
like they would pay off your credit cards, or they would, but they won't. It's just they would just call and file the claims for you, which would still be good, because you could still say they could do all that for you. You have to do nothing.
Is that all LifeLock does, is just file the claims?
LifeLock and Home Title Lock, they will hire an attorney that will file all the paperwork to reinstate your credit cards, get the balances dropped. Now Home Title Lock only does it for mortgages.
Right.
LifeLock only does it for identity theft.
Okay.
So if you had both of them,
Which you probably have to have.
yeah, but you could really insure yourself completely against the whole thing.
Yep.
But when we were locked up, we were thinking
They would pay
you, but they won't
Right.
pay you.
No.
And the thing is too, it's like it's a service, it's not insurance, because they just don't insure you.
Right.
So, but they will pay for the fees, which honestly is the biggest hurdle if something happens. Like,
Right.
You're trying to, like, you got like a 40, 50 hour a week job, and you're driving back and forth. Like, when do you have time to write all those letters and try and fix all this? If you're a real victim, if you really are a victim, like, that's the problem. Like, you got to write letters, you got to send emails, you have to make phone calls. Like, man, I'm working till 5 or 6 o'clock. I don't even get home till 6:30.
Right.
Then my kids are screaming. I got to make dinner. I got, like, when do you call anybody? You got to start taking days off work to try and fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So
Count me out.
So a couple of the schemes that I admired, I think we talked about one of them, which was the had to do with the Kellogg's.
Yeah.
And I admired. What's so funny about that scheme is that came to me at a phone call. My wife and I are sitting at the house, and I don't know what we were watching, but somebody called and go, "Hey." They call up and they go, "Hey, they got you on television." I go, "What channel?" "NBC." I go, "Me?" They go, "No, they got the kind of crap that you do." Oh. So then I turn it over to NBC, and it was I think it was American Greed. But what was happening, it was showing a guy that was cashing like $100,000 checks.
How's that even possible?
That's what I'm like, oh my God. So what was happening was there was a oil rig. Somebody worked for an oil company in Houston, and this woman was seeing the checks come in to pay the oil company. And what the guy had done was he opened up a similar company with the oil, with the name of the company. Like, he went to another state and opened up a company that had a similar name as the company that was receiving the checks. So if we were paying an oil company, if we were Matt and Zach's gas station, we might write an oil company a check for like $300,000 for a shipment of oil. Well, the woman that worked in the office was giving that to her friend, and he was depositing it into an account he started that had a very similar name as the oil company. This is what they were putting out on American Greed.
Yeah.
So like, my wife and I were sitting there watching this, right? And we looked at each other like,
nice.
Why didn't we think of doing it? Because here's what's funny. Here's what we were doing at the time.
I'm sorry. That's so wrong.
It is. It's a horrible, horrible crime.
Honey, can you believe that?
No, it was one of those moments where we're sitting. The reason why that happened is because what we were doing at the time is we were making checks. So we would go to mailboxes, business mailboxes, and steal the mail at night. We just look for checks. And what we do is we'd find the check, and then I would make a check payable to someone off of that. I was just looking for a fresh account.
Yeah.
So we were finding all these business checks. In fact, one time, I remember we found $100,000 check.
Right.
I'm like, geez, man, I wish we could cash that somehow. And that's what was happening. We see all these checks, and we just make a duplicate check for like $4,000 or $5,000 and deposit it in an account with somebody and just get the money out and run. That was our whole deal. So when we're watching television and they go, hey, he was actually cashing the checks that he was getting for their full amount. And you just look at each other like, can you imagine if we had known this with the $100,000 check? Like, jeez.
What's funny is people don't realize, like, you can open a corporation and then you can open up a DBA or a corporation similar. You could say, like let's say there's this drink, Ghost Energy drink. Then you could open up a corporation that says, that's Ghost,
distributor.
Yeah, Ghost Distributor, Ghost Productions, Ghost Energy, Drink 2.
Yes.
Whatever. Like it's like, of Tampa Bay, of Florida or whatever. You just add anything onto it that changes it subtly. And then the next thing you know, you can go open up a bank account in that name and deposit checks,
with that name
or any variation of that name, because the banks just don't check. They,
who it's going to, the address. They don't even match the state. They just look at the name and process it.
Yeah, I used to have a company, Consortium Financial Services. They would write Consortium Mortgage. This is people paying me.
Yes.
They'd send me, Consortium Mortgage, Consortium Bank, Consortium whatever, home loans. It's like, it's Consortium Financial Services. Right. Sometimes it would just be Consortium. Right. Just deposit them. Nobody, the bank never said, oh, wait a second. This is an issue.
Yeah.
No.
And so it was, so we did that. Picked up checks. We probably did over $100,000 in checks when somebody called us and said they had a friend that worked in Kellogg's. That was a story that I shared.
Yeah.
And that's how that whole scheme developed.
Yeah, we did that video got a lot of views. That's the Kellogg video.
The Kellogg, yes. So when we called the girl, like, you could imagine, like, we were dancing, because when we called the girl, I asked her, she goes, oh, well, I work up in the office and I see the checks. I said, okay, well, how much is a check? She goes, probably the smallest check is probably like $2.5 million. What? It's like, man. I go, it's over. We're done. Our fraud days are over.
The $7 million Kellogg scam. Yeah. Stealing $7 million from Kellogg's.
Yes.
That just sounds horrible. Yeah. That got like 70,000 views.
Wow.
That's not bad for my channel. And that was like a year ago. That was a year ago. Must have been just before.
Yes, right.
The incident.
Yes. The horrible incident. So yeah, that's what led to that discovery, because we started, of all the crap we were doing, we added that to our repertoire and just started making money. And that's when the girl from Kellogg's came into our life and gave us the possibility of getting a $7 million check from Kellogg's. I remember telling her, I'm like, we're done. $7 million, it's over. We give the girl $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not doing it. Yeah. What's so funny is, like, my mindset back then, like, it was never going to be over. I used to always say, like, man, if I just got a few $1 million, if I got a few $1 million, I would have said that was easy.
You think it? Well, yeah, you're right.
It was the whole, just like that stupid thing I was just making. It's that quote. There's just no feeling in the world like walking in a bank, handing them a fake ID and some fake documents, and then having them hand you a check for $250,000 and thank you for ripping them off. Like, I mean, that's just insane.
Yes.
And that feeling, you're like, this is insane, right? Like, I'm gonna walk in there, and then, or even thanking and telling you what a great customer you've been. Like, I borrowed like a couple $100,000 one time, and I always say this because I had a guy who like read my book who came back and was like, "You said you borrowed a couple $100,000. In the book it says you borrowed $120,000." It was just like, man, whatever. I don't remember what it was. Okay, $150,000, $200,000, whatever it was. I had borrowed it in the name of this it was a real person. It was a homeless guy. So I borrowed that money, and he had perfect credit.
Right.
So got a check for whatever, let's say 150,000. Went and deposited it in my bank, and immediately, as soon as I did it, the person goes, "Okay, thank you." And they went, "Oh, you've been approved for a $30,000 credit card." And I went, "You mean pre-approved?" She goes, "No, you've been approved." Of course I've been approved. I just deposited a check for $150,000 in cash. I mean, $150,000 into my account, and I do have perfect credit. You know, that guy had perfect credit, and she said, "All you have to do is tell me you want the card, and we'll have it overnighted to you." And I went, "Yes, I do."
A free 30 grand
Yes,
for ripping you off?
yeah.
Absolutely. Hand that over.
See, the problem is that's how you and I look at it, as a free 30 grand. To them, they're like, it's a credit line. You're like, no. That's not the way this works. I promise you, it's free. There's no payments getting made.
Now, I promise you it's free,
Yeah.
but I won't be once they catch up with me behind this.
So right now, though,
I'm walking up out of this mug.
I got a sports car. I got a hot girlfriend.
Yes,
I was
amen.
happy.
Amen, yes.
Going on some vacations.
Yeah.
Right up till they put them cuffs on me. And I was
That's
like,
right. Then it's unfree.
Like, but I'm going to Australia. Listen, if I was a cop, you know how much fun I would have? I'd be like, with a couple of guys that are, it's like, you know, with what they're saying, you know, what like, no, I can't, you can't arrest me. Stop it, bro. We got you on video. 2 of your co-defendants rolled on you.
You know damn well you'd play along. You're like, oh, you were going to Australia.
Hold on. Let me get the keys to the cuffs.
Yeah. There's no way. You'd be like, come on, bro. We got you on film. It's kind of like my arrest with the, what is your name? Albert Henley. Albert Henley, you have ID? Of course I have ID. Here you go. Yeah, all right. Anyway.
Then there goes another charge. Now we got aggravated identity theft.
He just looked at it like,
you're good.
yeah, like, wow. Here you go. Come on, let's go.
Come on, Albert.
Yeah. Okay, Albert, let's go. You're going to jail. We're not going to arrest Isaac anymore. We're arresting Albert, guys. Yeah. That's right.
Oh, my God. Good times.
Getting arrested is not good times. Maybe so. Get out of here.
It's fun looking back on it. At the time, it's not fun.
Oh, no. It's like everything spins in your
yeah.
head. That and the time when you get your time in court.
It's
like,
immediately, I just got a job at McDonald's. Immediately. I
shouldn't have done none of that stuff.
Yeah. Immediately regret every single thing. And then, you know, but then you get out and 6 months go by and you're like, listen, I just heard. Yeah, but you have been sending money in jail for the past 2 years.
Yeah, but doesn't mean I've perfected it. I've thought it over. Yeah. I've got it perfected.
I'm going to do it right this time.
Insanity thought. All right, so another hustle that I liked. If we get back on topic, if you don't mind. But all right, another one I liked was a guy that was selling clean air credits.
Oh yeah,
remember me telling you about that?
Yeah.
So apparently there is passed by George Bush clean air credits for all the companies that spit pollution into the atmosphere. What they do is they make them invest in companies that actually take pollution out of the atmosphere.
It's just the right thing to do.
Yeah. And so they created I didn't even know this existed until I watched.
Apparently it doesn't exist.
Oh, it still does. Bro.
No, I'm saying based on what your guy was doing.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they're probably all doing. You're taking all that carbon and all this stuff out of the air. Come on, stop it, bro. Like, no, we're planting trees.
The planting tree and for poop. People who process or help disintegrate manure and stuff like that into fertilizer, that actually cleans the air, believe it or not. But I'm going to tell you, like the Clean the Ocean, what's the name of that company that sends out those bags for, we take gunk out of the ocean? Have you seen that? Those commercials for them?
No. I don't watch a lot of TV though.
Oh, there's a one big company out there that cleans the ocean, that they claim that cleans the ocean, and they go, oh, we're sponsored by so many, people helping us out, helping us clean. We take donations. Most of their money, I heard this on NPR, a majority of their money comes from the clean air credits. All companies that pollute the ocean pay them big time for going out there and taking gunk out of the ocean. So those things are still around. What it was I didn't know is that there was a marketplace for the balance. So if corporations that dirty up the air obviously have much more money, right, than corporations that actually clean the air. So the corporations that clean the air actually sell clean air credits to those companies, and they have a certain amount that they need to have. They actually fight and bid. It's a bidding war. It's like eBay for the clean air, because sometimes it goes up depending on the demand. So obviously the schemer.
I don't know why I just pictured Christie's. I just pictured a bunch of corporate fat cats on a stage.
You should have seen the episode, bro.
Behind the auctioneer at Christie's, and in the crowd, it's nothing but hippies. And they're all like, "You bastards! 300,000. I'll go 300. I'll go 280. I'll go 260." You know, and they're shut up, Jennifer. You know. And they've got their combing their hair and they're wearing flowers. Yeah,
make it beautiful, baby.
Yeah, there's a band. You know, the monkeys are playing in the background. You remember the monkeys?
Yes, I love the monkeys. But anyway, yes. So this schemer obviously got approved by the EPA.
Nice.
But what he did was he rented a place. Rented the equipment. I can't even remember how he fraudulently told them he was cleaning the air. They came over. The EPA gave him the seal of approval.
Okay.
Once he got that approval, he went on the clean air.
Shut everything down.
Yeah. He leased the machine. Listen, when they came and checked him out, because they would announce, "We're coming in 2 weeks." "Oh, you are? Yeah, I need at least another couple of machines."
Yeah.
And he'd bring them back.
Stick them in the warehouse. Yeah. Put them around back. Get some hippies out here and some tree huggers to look like we're do-gooders.
American Greed was cursing them up and down.
Round up 50 do-gooders.
Yeah,
stick them in there.
"We're picking up trash on the side of the road, you bastards." But
exactly.
American Greed was criticizing the EPA for approving him three times. He was checked out. All 3 times he passed. Like, yeah, he's doing it. Selling clean air credits. I told you what caught him was he had this penchant for expensive cars. He bought like $3 million worth of expensive. He had like a Lamborghini, not a Jaguar, but what's the other cat car?
Cat car?
I want to say it's another car that's like $100,000, not a Lamborghini, but it's another $100,000 car. I can't remember.
100,000 Lamborghinis are like 300,000-400,000.
Oh, they are?
Oh yeah, Ferrari. What?
Maybe a Ferrari, but he
Maseratis.
Maserati. That was the other one. He had about over like $3 million worth of cars parked out by his house. Which it would be like someone pull in and you have $3 million in cars. Like he was in a regular neighborhood like yours, and you just come up and you go like, "Dude, what the hell is with all these expensive cars?" Hey, I'm just living like that.
Yeah,
so they call the police. That's how he got caught.
I'm just doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's
trying to clean up the planet.
That's how he got caught. The police come, and he's got all the paperwork for the cars, and they're kind of like, "Okay," and they hands it over to. I guess a detective or a fraud investigator who kind of runs the guy, and he checks him out. Like the EPA calls and makes an appointment.
Right.
He checked him out without an appointment. Like, I don't know how you're selling all those clean air credits sitting in this empty warehouse, but I'm finna tell somebody.
So he told the EPA and.
Well, yeah, I think and then they brought him up on. He only like when it all came down to it, I think he got like 3 years in prison, but he stole like about $8 or $9 million.
I'll do 3 years for $8 million. That's what we ought to have.
They didn't even know. They didn't even understand the charge. It was crazy. It was like a unique. They had to charge him uniquely because there was really no crime of what he was doing, like false statement type of charge, like the 1001, like the beginning All the charges giving false information. That was a charge, and that only carries 3 years. So I guess he got nothing. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was thinking. I was just thinking. I was thinking during the Civil War, they were conscripting people, right? So either you had to show up or one of your family, right? Or you could say, hey, I can't do it. I want it, fellas, I want to. I'm with you. But I want to be can't be with you. I got to do the farm. I got to do the whole thing. But I've got my slave, John. He can go for me. And they would say, okay, well, put your mark here, John. And John would put his mark. And he'd be in the army. I thought, what if you were super rich and you're going to jail and you were able to say, listen, I know I got 4 years or I know I got 3 years. I can't go, but Matt will do my time for me. And then I have to compensate Matt to do my time. Like,
bro,
I'm ready to sign up. Like, go do what kind of first in the custody level? Like, oh no, you're going to a pen. Oh, Matt, how much for the pen? Listen, pen's $150,000 a year, $200,000 a year. I'll do 4 years. I'll do 4 years. Do 4 years for you, but you gotta, but it's going to be $1 million up front in my lawyers. Could you imagine if you could negotiate that? And in a way, I think I know what you're going to say. In a way, people do. You can. I'll tell you an incident that I know about, but go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I sat in county jail one time wondering if it was possible to get someone else to do my sentence. Like like you were describing about you being me.
Yeah.
Like I told myself, how much would it disturb the system if I would allow someone to become me and they just go hey, I'm Isaac Allen.
Well, no, I
in.
mean, like if there was actually a system.
Oh, like you mean like a legal system?
Legal capitalized. Look, you got to do this much time. You have to give us this much time. And say, listen, I'm not going to, but I've paid this service, and they're going to provide someone that will do that time for me. And they go, okay, do you have the paperwork? Do you have an SS-12 form? Yes. Do you have a 722 form? Yes. Did he sign? I need your driver's license? Oh, I got my driver's license. Like, okay, boom, and he goes in for you. Like,
makes me think of Palmer. He'd be.
Right. Though there are people that will do that, but they would do that. And here's an example of that, a real world example. We used to call this guy they were calling him the Mexican Tony Soprano. There was a cartel member in Atlanta that had gotten like 15 or 20 years, right? Like he's got like 7 lawyers. And this was in Atlanta, in Atlanta City Detention Center, right? ACDC, where you would meet with your lawyer in the unit. They would walk into a room, and it was like a glass room, like there's a glass wall, and glass, it's the metal piping with the thing. You'd walk in there with your lawyer or whoever, and they'd close the door and you'd sit there and have a conversation. Crews, like 5-6 lawyers showed up every time to see this guy. He had tons of money. His cellie, just to let you, I'm just saying this is the kind of guy he was, his cellie was a black guy that was complaining because his baby's mama's car had broke down and it just blew, like the engine blew.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, he said, give me your address. I'll get her another car. If somebody drop a car off. And he goes, no, man, you don't understand. He's like, no, I understand. She needs a car. And he's like, are you serious? And he said, yeah, man. Yeah. This is a guy that every time commissary came, like his bag was full and 3 other guys' bags were full that he was buying.
People like that.
Right. So, meaning he's putting money on other people's commissary accounts to buy him stuff, and they get 20%.
Right.
So what he did was, oh, by the way, that guy, like when that whole thing happened, I remember like 3 days later, he got off the phone with his girlfriend and said, "You're not going to believe this." We were sitting there, I remember playing chess.
Oh, this is a true story.
Oh, it's true. I was in that. The black guy came up and he was looking for his cellie, right? His cellie was, I forget, he had been moved from medical. He was coming back. He's like, bro, remember he said he was going to get a car? He said, Mike, I got off the phone 2 hours ago. Some guy showed up with it wasn't a brand new car. It was like a 5-year-old, Acura. He's like, I think it's got like 30,000 miles on it. He was like, he just gave it to her. He signed over the title and everything. We were like, damn, like Tony did that. He was like, yeah. he had a name that was,
Definitely scream mafia.
Yeah, no, I mean they called him Tony. He was the Tony Soprano of, but no, he had a Spanish name that was difficult. It wasn't something like Jesus. It was a hard one. So what happened was, I remember too watching my Dateline episode with him. We were all sitting there watching the Dateline episode on me. And I was sitting there just shaking my hand. I kept looking over at him. He goes, "You're a bad boy. You."
That's what he's saying. You're a bad boy.
So here's what he had done. He had paid a peasant, right, in Mexico to come over through the border and told law enforcement who was there and how much, and that he was coming and he had this much dope or whatever in the car, gave him the type of car, the tag, everything. They saw him, they grabbed him. Boom, 5K1. Then he said, so that was one he was doing. So now now he's already down to like 15 years or something. He was supposed to get like 25, he's down to 15. He had already arranged it, and he'd been in the jail doing this. He had arranged to have a guy fly over and land at an airport, like a makeshift airport in Texas, and the DEA was going to grab him, and he was going to have X amount of pounds of pot, and that guy was going to, and I was like, how much time is it? He's like, oh no, the one guy, he got 5 years. We make sure my lawyer in Mexico makes sure that he has just enough to only get 5 years. And right. I take care of his family. The next guy was going to do 10. Like, guys are lining up to come to do his time for him so he could get his sentence reduced.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just like, Atlanta was right. But I mean, that's the kind of money he had. There was a guy in Coleman that this is a guy who we're talking about. He's like one step, maybe one step below El Chapo when he was running things, right? Is actually the person who was running the Sinaloa cartel was El Chapo and El Mayo.
Right.
Everybody always says El Chapo or Chapo, but El Mayo's low profile. He's really the guy that started the whole thing and brought in El Chapo. The point is that like there's one guy beneath him, and the guy beneath him, that was the guy I was locked up in Coleman with. This isn't AC. This is another guy. That guy had, remember the old photo books you could buy?
Yeah,
the old ones.
Yeah.
You couldn't sell. I don't know about where you were, but in Coleman, they stopped selling the big ones. They were too big.
I know which one you're talking about.
But he had.
You mean the little one or the big one?
No, the big. It was a
yeah,
big one.
I know.
You could only buy the little ones when I was there. But there were guys that still had the big ones,
huge ones.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like they were like 3 pictures across and 3 pictures down. Back when there were these things called photos that you could actually print out, and they were actually photos. And he had books full of them. He'd done like 3 or 4 years, and he still had a few more years to go. And this is the kind of guy that got caught on a conspiracy and got like a life sentence, but had worked it all the way down by giving up low-level guys that knew what was going to happen. Like he sets them up, like they're being set up on purpose, and they're saying, okay, so you're going to load 300 pounds in the trunk, and I'm going to drive through here. And they're gonna arrest me, yes. And then it'll take a couple months for you to get sentenced, 6 months for you to get sentenced, and then you'll get 5 years. And then we've already got you a lawyer that'll show up, make sure you're gonna get 5 years. You only got the maximum amount to get 5. You can't get more than 5 years.
And you don't have any priors.
No priors. You're going. So anyway, this guy had done the same type of thing, and he was at a low already, and he was going to a camp. He had photos of him in Mexico where he had to do, like so many years ago, he had done like 2 or 3 years in Mexico. It was insane, the photos he had. They were allowing him 10 days a month. You can have your family come and stay with you in the
jail.
Prison.
They had a special spot. America,
it was insane. Plus, you understand that so many days a month you could have other people come in. Like he literally had prostitutes come in, and they're staying the night.
Yes.
Like they're walking him to the cell, staying the night. He's drinking Coors, and he's got.
America has if you talk to anyone that's been abroad, America has the most harshest penal system ever of all of the world.
Maybe
Russia might be. No, because I met somebody in jail in Russia.
Well, I met some guys that trust me, there's not in the world, but there's 3 or 4. There's probably, let's say there's 5 or 6 other countries that are really rough. But rough meaning, so the conditions are.
The Mexico conditions are horrible.
Right.
It's like a city.
I understand they're horrible, but in some ways they're horrible. But if you have money,
yeah, the freedom is.
But in some ways, it's like, what are you talking about? You're letting people bring them food, and they're allowed to bring so much food. They're allowed to bring so much. They're allowed to come see them and stay in the cell with them for 3 days straight. Yep. They're allowed. It was like, that's insane. And then of course, but if you're poor and you go to Mexico, it's horrendous, and you're sleeping in the hallways. So it depends on what type of a criminal you are and what your ability to produce or have money is. But I was going to say, when we're back to the scam, sorry.
Well, I only had 2. I didn't know if you.
Oh, listen, the scams that I admire are like, I do. This is horrible. If you remove the victims, I do admire like Ponzi schemes, guys that do Ponzi schemes, which is really, they're just blatant liars, But if you were to just set up a Ponzi scheme, here's what bothers me about Ponzi schemes, is that most Ponzi schemes, and I don't mean most, I mean like 99% of them, weren't set up as a scam. Like they were set up as a legitimate business that very quickly goes bad.
Yes.
Sometimes they go do great for 6 years, 10 years. Sometimes guys set them up and a year and a half later, they're like, wow, man, like I'm not good at this. And, where they set it up as a legitimate, let's say, I'm going to invest, of course the investors always get in trouble. Like it's a hedge fund. Right. They make a couple of they have a bad quarter, then they lie about it. I'll make it up next quarter. Then they have another bad quarter.
Right.
They lie about it. They have another bad quarter. They lie about it. Then maybe they have a good quarter, but it's nowhere near good enough to recoup the losses they've had. Then they have another bad quarter, and they're just continuing to tell everybody they're doing well, and they just keep borrowing and borrowing. And before you know it, it's like, so, how off are you? Well, I've lost $5 million. I am supposed to have $50 million in, the coffers, and I don't. I'm paying out this much money because I've lost this much money, but I told people that I made $11 million. So wow, so you're off by $15 million. Yeah, it's just, and then it spirals out of control, and then they just try and maintain it as long as possible. So, if you remove the fact that the people that they're typically taking the money from are just regular people, the ability to do that and set it up and maintain it for a long period of time is amazing to me. That to me is.
Well, what scheme are you thinking about? Because like Madoff comes to mind.
Madoff does. What bothers me about Madoff is, like he did it in his name. Like he's just an idiot. Like,
well, he didn't, like you said, he didn't start off to take money. Like give an example. Like a couple of the Ponzi schemes were the guys. I can show you how to do mortgages. Like I'm talking about, all those people that go buy my system, and I'll tell you how to buy houses. I'll help you buy houses, or I'll put the down, but you
Grant
find
Cardone.
the house.
Yeah, Grant Cardone's type.
Yes,
of,
him.
Yeah,
those type of Ponzi schemes. Now, those were Ponzi schemes because
Grant Cardone's not a Ponzi scheme. Like I thought you were talking about two different things. Like he's not running a Ponzi. Well, he may be. I don't know.
Well, there's one that was a Ponzi scheme. I've seen those people get arrested, all of them. Like, and I never really understood what they did wrong, but they said it was a Ponzi scheme. And a
lot of times they typically. Here's the thing I've noticed too. Like I've talked to a lot of guys. This guy Red Bull. They said he ran a Ponzi scheme. It was a business opportunity scheme, but they would like, it's like people know what a Ponzi scheme is. So a lot of times the newspapers simplify it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So yeah, I hear what you're saying. Really there's so many schemes that I'm not impressed by as much as I'm just disappointed by. It's like you had something that was legitimate and you ruined it because you didn't do this one thing. or
Right.
I always thought that it really, this was like a legit, that guy said it was a legit, I don't know, the guy was like, he basically was giving people a credit card. So it was like, hey, you give me $59, right? And I'll give you a credit card worth $300 and I'll report to the credit bureau. So it's a way to help clean up your credit.
Right.
And then he gives you a catalog that you can buy from. Well, everything in the catalog is jacked up. It's all like, this is stuff he's getting from China for $15.
Right.
And he's charging, $150, $200. So everything you can buy is really just, it's horrible. Like, you buy one thing and he's not out any money because he took in $50.
Right.
It cost him $15. Even if you never make a payment, then it doesn't matter. He's not out any money at all. And if you do make the payment, well, that's great because eventually he gets the $200 back. The point is that was there was a guy in Coleman who had done that. And it was kind of like a business opportunity thing that he had just kind of set up.
Right.
The problem was, he said, I set it up. We started running with it, started doing well, started hiring people. People are calling. We're getting people in. We're doing great numbers. He said, but then I turned around and he went to like Equifax and said, how much for me to record these every month? And it was too much.
Right.
They wanted, I don't remember the number. Let's say they wanted like, it's like $20 a person. He was like, that's insane. Not gonna. And then they said, well, you don't have enough. If you have this many people, like if you have 1,000 people, then we drop it from 20 down to this much. If you
$20 per month.
Per month. Then they were like, if you do this many, if you have over 10,000 people, then we drop it down to it's $8. Like, you have to have whatever it was. It was an outrageous amount of number for it to get down to where it was almost nothing, right? Where it was cents, which is where someone like Bank of America is. Like, it cost them almost nothing to report.
Right.
But he wasn't there, so he figured, okay, that's fine. At the rate we're going, we'll be over the 1,000. It'll cost $8 or whatever it was. I forget the number. And he said, but by the time we got to the 1,000, like, nobody was complaining. He said, like, nobody, like, even people that called and said, hey, it hasn't shown up yet. We were like, well, yeah, you have to make a few payments before it should. Trust me. He's like he said, and a lot of people would just stop paying. So it's like they don't say anything at all. Like, they don't want it to show up.
Right.
And he said, so 6 months, a year went by.
Right.
Now he's just telling people, oh, we're reporting. Where are you pulling from? Where are you? Like, they
yeah.
Then, and I was like,
downward spiral.
Right. But at this point, you could pay. He's like, I forget how many millions he ended up making, 5-6 million. I mean, it was just tons. And he's dumping money into, he's like, advertising, paying this. Like, but you're making millions.
Yes.
You're telling me you made, if I had a little scheme that I was running that was making me $2 million, and for me to make it legit, I have to spend $1 million.
Yeah.
Even if I had just a million out of my
half,
I'll spend the million to keep $1 million.
Yes.
Yeah, he wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. So within a year or two, it catches up with them.
Lavish lifestyle.
Just a jerk off, and then he gets arrested. And then, of course, they go in front. He's got thousands and thousands of victims. So what he thought was, okay, it's a few $1 million. I'll do a couple years. Ended up being ridiculous. It was like 6 to 8 years or something because he had so many victims.
Yeah.
Because do you remember that the federal sentencing guidelines, like, if I have
0 to 10,
yeah,
they changed it. They changed it now. But when I got sentenced, 0 to.
What I'm saying is,
no, it's 5. It was 5, wasn't it? No, it was more than 10.
Right. It goes up in increments.
Well, yeah, 10 and 50.
Right. And then it goes up again. It goes up like 150, 250, and over 500, something like that. Like, it keeps going.
Oh, wow. When I got sentenced, it was more than 10. Then it was more than 50.
I think it was up to 250 or more.
Wow, they changed it. They changed it for real. I got slammed.
Well, so what happened with him was, like, let me put it this way. Let's say I stole $1 million from 2 people. Like, I stole $1 million from you and $1 million from you. I don't get an enhancement for that. Like, I don't get an enhancement for the victims. But if I stole, $20 from 50 people, I get this massive enhancement. It's like, wait a second. I stole next to nothing from these people. $20 a pop. That's nothing. That's not going to change their life.
Right.
These guys wiped someone out, and they're like, I know, but they have more victims. It's $20. Like, even if it's less money. Yeah, but less money, but you have more victims.
Yeah, but that's not like their logic is skewed, but that makes sense to me. If because chances are the $20 are from poorer people, and you wipe out rich people.
So if it was $900,000 from an old retired woman.
Yeah, you're right. So
then, you know,
it doesn't.
Well, that's what
it doesn't balance.
They were trying to change that. There was like an amendment that I forget, FAM had put up, or somebody. They were trying to, they never do change them, but they were like, when I was, we were getting these letters like, hey, this is going up. They're going to change this and this and this, and like none of it passed.
The problem with the feds is none of it's retroactive.
Yeah, even if it does, it'd be new people.
Which you want to kind of say, like, okay, so I already stole that money. You don't make anything retroactive. Why should I have to pay those freaking people that already stole? So you're like, oh, well, this is wrong. We'll change it. But we're not going to let the people who got screwed by it, we're not going to unscrew them.
So I got caught with a pound of marijuana today, and I got a year. Right. This guy got caught with 2 pounds on Tuesday, and he gets nothing.
Right.
Because now it's not illegal. Yeah, but when you did it was illegal. Yes, but it's now not.
Right.
I get it. Can we make that retroactive and let me out? No.
Absolutely not.
No, you're a criminal. He didn't get it from a pharmacy either. I know, but he got it from the same guy I got it from.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, they never made any of those victim changes retroactive. But like for me, the Ponzi scheme, I agree. I think it's someone losing control of a specific situation. Like all the famous ones that I know about. Yeah. It's just kind of like you get off the handle. Do you remember, and I'm going to say this completely wrong, where it's not even going to be probably valid. I probably shouldn't even try it. But there was one guy that was offering a pill that was supposed to make your penis larger.
Of course I do.
And he goes, "Hi, meet
of course,
Dick."
Yeah. And he would do that. It was so he got busted.
Yes, because like I'm going, what kind of, like when I saw that, like I'm in jail. I immediately ran to the law library to look that up because I'm like, what Ponzi scheme could he have pulled off?
Was it a Ponzi scheme?
Yes, it was.
No,
because it was dishonest. It was a Ponzi scheme.
No, it wasn't. It was
because you couldn't cancel it.
Right. It was just dishonest. That's not a Ponzi scheme. You know what a Ponzi scheme is? It's Ponzi scheme is when you're giving me money where you're taking from new victims to pay old victims off. And it eventually, yeah. Are you serious?
I'm serious.
You're killing me.
I'm sorry.
A Ponzi scheme is where you give me $100,000 and I say you're making 20% a year, and you go, okay, but really I just spent your money on a Lamborghini, and a new house for me. And then when you say, hey Matt, I need to get 100,000 of that back, I say, oh okay, Connor, give me 100,000, I'll make you 20% a year. And you go, okay, you give it to me, and I give you
the 100,000,
or $20,000, whatever your proceeds are. I'm taking from. So anytime you pull out, I'm giving you money that I'm taking from Mary Shelley, from Connor, from Jess, so other people are paying in, and anybody who says, I'm
not using it for what you're supposed to use it for.
Right. So anytime somebody says, you say, hey, I give you $100,000 and it's been 5 years, it's now worth $300,000. I say, oh, I got it. Here's your $300,000, but I just took their money to pay you. And when he asked for his money, I'm taking from Bob and Jim and Bill to pay him. And so what happens is it's okay. It functions okay if more people pay in all the time. That's what Social Security is. Social Security is people. It's a legal Ponzi scheme.
Yes.
Because they're pulling from everybody's check to pay out people that had paid in originally.
Yes.
So
insolvent. But
at some point,
meet Dick and Jane. Yes, that guy.
Yeah, what was it? So what you know? I know this whole scam.
Well,
you know
run
what
it down.
The scam,
you had that. Go ahead. You tell it.
Okay, so here's what he was saying. What they were saying was, well, it's a money back guarantee. Like you pay for it. If it doesn't work, we'll give you your money back.
And it didn't work.
No. Well, of course it doesn't work. But his whole thing was when people said, I paid $500. I want my $500 back. It's been 6 months. I've been taking this pill. I'm out of pills, and nothing ever happened. My Johnson did not get bigger, which you promised.
Right.
And he said, okay, well, all we need is a letter from your doctor showing that prior to you taking the pills, you were this size, and now you're still the same size, and that the pills did not help you. So just get us a letter from your doctor. If you can prove it, we'll give you the money back. Who the hell? Like, I didn't. If you read the fine print, we have to have proof or that sort. So, well, I'm sorry, but I didn't go to my doctor and get him to measure my junk before and after. So they're like, well, I'm sorry. Then how do we know it didn't work?
Look how small my junk is.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
so you imagine people are taking pictures.
Here's your money back.
Look at this.
Some people are like, here's your money back.
Does this look like my wife is smiling the way that chick on the commercial?
Right.
Yeah. So as a result of that, they ended up. So it was unfair, business practices. It was false advertising. It was.
We got to look that up, because how would that be even a federal case? Just
because he's doing it across state lines. He's doing it all over. And stealing from thousands and thousands of little penis men, which need to be protected.
Which is embarrassing itself. I'm seeing it all lined up in court. Yeah, I still got nothing.
Yeah, it's upsetting. I wish. What is that? What is the name? What was the name of the scam? Right.
How bad my phone's been going off.
Scam involving making your penis big with a pill.
Smiling Bob loses his fortune and his freedom.
And News Host John London has more on the male enhancement pill scam in this story. It's new tonight at 5:30. Hi, John.
Cherie, he was blinded by his own arrogance and greed. That is the bottom line tonight from a federal judge who hit Steve Warshak with a 25-year prison sentence and a $500 million fine.
Is he still in?
Smiling Bob bumped
No,
up against
that's
the
the
face of
Bob.
federal justice today in a case about greed. That's how Judge Arthur Spiegel puts it. He's giving Steve Warshak 30 days to get his affairs in order before heading for 20-plus years of federal prison.
This was the perfect storm of consumer fraud.
turned
You had a group of
himself in.
consumers that wouldn't want to come forward and say that they'd been ripped off.
Warshak started Berkeley Nutraceuticals, which was raided on suspicion of massive fraud. Federal investigators say consumers were ripped off $100 million worth of ripping by way of those Enzyte ads that promised greater sexual satisfaction. According to the court, it delivered deception instead. Judge Spiegel telling Warshak he preyed on the sexual inadequacies and vulnerabilities of consumers so as to keep massive amounts of money generated by fraud. Attorney Jim O'Reilly is using this case as Exhibit A for his new book, Corporate Criminal Sentencing. As we spoke, the viability of the entire company rested on the size of the federal fine upstairs.
Managements all the time are making decisions that are bet the company decisions. He happened to bet on consumer fraud. He didn't get away with it.
Warshak's 75-year-old mother got a 2-year sentence. Other defendants face the music tomorrow. And late today, the Berkeley Corporation was fined $15 million. Those running it have 3 months to pay it. It is not known tonight if they'll sell or even if they'll be able to continue to operate.
This is saying no
Live in
results
the newsroom, John
found.
London, News 5.
I'll tell you when I get home.
$100 million fraud.
And he did 9 years.
9 years. Could you get somebody to do it for? Could you get somebody to do the time for?
Mine was my fraud was $100,000.
I know.
And I got 16 and a half. And my judge feels like that just simply wasn't enough.
But it wasn't, was it?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't enough. And on top of that, you had an extensive criminal history.
Yes. My lawyer.
Did you see that look?
My lawyer called me a consummate criminal. I had to look that up.
Consummate criminal.
Yes. When I read that in the transcript, I'm like, what the heck does that consummate mean?
Did you go?
Yeah,
Stop.
It means perfect.
Nice. I like it.
I'll never forget that. I'm reading in the transcript. Mr. Allen is a consummate criminal.
Did you say, Your Honor, if I was consummate, would we even be having this talk? If I was a perfect criminal, we wouldn't even know each other. Certainly wouldn't have been in front of you all these times. Over and over. Like at this point, what's his first name?
Who? My judge?
Yeah.
James.
Like at this point, you basically walk in and go, Jimmy, what's going on? What have you been up to? You know what I've been up to? No, that's why we're here.
Can't stand that. Anyway. Let's not go there. All right. So,
oh my God.
Do you have any other schemes that you admire besides the little dick and guy? You know, there's a rapper named Little Dicky.
Really?
Yes, I think
there's a rapper, or there's a guy named.
He's got a TV show now, doesn't he? Does he really? Yeah.
There's a Black Zach guy too. Black Zach. Have you ever punch in your thing? Like this is the first thing that comes up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Then this comes up. Then you come up.
But the first guy is way better. Mix YouTube. Like, have you listened to the song?
No. Why? What is it? Is it one song? I mean, he's got 18 views. Have you listened to it?
Yes. It's horrible.
No.
It's Xanadu quality.
You've already got more
views than him. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna copy him.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh,
check out the other Black
bad.
Zach, everybody.
Oh, it's bad.
Oh, it's horrible. I told you that.
Look at the booty on that chick. Look. He's got the glasses.
Yeah.
I can't dance.
Oh.
It look. Look at him. Look at him. Come on, put this up.
Get him some views. Get him some subscribers.
We need to get him some subscribers.
The other Black Zach.
Hold on, Connor. It's actually not bad. Why do you think that's bad? Are you serious? Play that thing. I don't think it's bad at all.
Not at all.
It's as good as any of the rap music I've heard. He's got a whole. He loves it too. He loves what he's doing.
Here it comes, dude. It's horrible. I'm like, what is this?
No way. I hope this doesn't get copywritten.
Oh yeah, he takes it. How many songs? He only has one song, or does he have multiple songs?
No, he's got a look. So he's got. Oh no! Oh, he's got. Look at.
Tell him to check out my channel. You should come back to Matt. Like, thank you very much for subscribing. That's how you should close it out. The other Black Zach. Speaking of illegal. Speaking of schemes. What about the other Black Zach? The guys whose name I stole.
What about? Listen, I knew a guy in Coleman that was a concert promoter that promoted several concerts.
Right.
And people paid whatever, a couple $100, like, I mean, radio stations, everything. And he was promoting concerts for people that weren't like, these are artists that are like, well, when am I going to be in Michigan? What's going on? Like, he'd take them and they'd put the money, they'd send in their money, and then the promoter would take the money, and then they would come out and say, hey, it's been postponed. Like on the tickets, it says like, hey, if there's, weather and this and that, or postponements, you understand. And he would postpone it like 60 days, then another 90, then another 30, then 60, and then they just drop away.
They just fade out. And he kept your money.
Right, kept your money. By that way, your money's way gone. Yeah. So he did a whole thing. It eventually caught up with it. He was in Coleman with us. And when I got out, listen to this. I always forget about this. This is hilarious. So when I first got to that, this is a whole sidebar thing. So when I first got to the halfway house, do you remember which halfway house did you go to? The one
Tampa,
on
the same one you did.
Okay. So
Goodwill.
They were strict. Right? Like they were like they're checking you. You come in, and then they do
Not thoroughly, but yeah. Rule wise, yes.
What I'm saying is so for instance, people couldn't just show up and like, for instance, and they told you, did you get the little speech when you got there?
Yes.
Like if you friends come over, you have to tell them, they have to sign in, they have to this, like don't have somebody come meet you in the parking lot.
Right.
Like that's an issue. Like if they saw you, they'd violate you. Like, hey, some guy just came by, they'd search you, like, what's going on? You stood out there and talked to that guy for 20 minutes and, that sort of thing. Hey, that's a illegal this, whatever, stand there, we're calling, like that. They'd violate you go spend 30 days in the county jail. So to me, they were strict. Like they had made you clean all the time. If you didn't have a job, you're cleaning all the time. Like they made you want to get out of that halfway house as quick as possible.
Yes.
So, and I was there for 7 months. You were there.
You had a job.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying you were on home. You got an ankle monitor right away. You were out right away.
30 days.
Yeah, 30 days. I was there 7 months. So
were you in there whole 7 months?
The whole 7 months.
You never got home confinement? You didn't have a home?
Where? I didn't have a home.
Oh
I can't stay with my mom.
Oh my God. 7 months?
Yeah.
You and Jess, right?
No, Jess got out within 60, 90 days. She was out.
Oh, okay.
She had her dad's.
Oh, okay.
And the only reason that took so long was like he had to get like a landline. Like he didn't have a landline. He's in Mayaca. He's got a cell phone. Who the hell has a landline?
Right.
So anyway, the point is that when I got there, I had been there 2 weeks. I get there, I'm keeping my head down. I'm just doing what I have to do. I get there, and probably within a week, guys are walking around. One day, all of a sudden, within like a day or so, I noticed guys are walking around looking at me. And then one day, I walk by a guy sitting on the couches. Remember the couches in the middle, in the day room? Guy's watching. He's watching this is when My American Greed was on Hulu. He's watching it on Hulu as I walk by. And I hear the whole, and I'm like, I look over and he's sitting there watching. And he looks up, he goes, he just smiles. And he was watching. I was like, oh man. So I walk, and a counselor, not my counselor, it was Jess's counselor, this black guy. He walks by and looks at me. He goes, Cox, he said, saw you on TV last night. And I went, on what? And he said, on American Greed. I was like, oh man. He was, yeah, you need to hold your head low. Like he was like giving me the laugh. He was laughing about it. Like but I said, who else has seen it? And he goes, oh, we've all seen it by now. Everybody, like all the staff member had seen it. So that had just happened, and now the inmates are starting to watch it.
Right.
And I'm not saying anything. I'm just trying to go to work and back, right? Like I don't just started my job. So then one day I'm sitting there sitting outside on the, or not outside, I'm sorry. I'm sitting on one of the couches in the day room, playing on my phone or even trying to figure it out. And a guy comes up to me, this guy that I was in Coleman with, goes up, he goes, hey Cox, you got to come outside real quick. There's a guy outside who wants to talk to you. And I went, what? He goes, there's a guy outside who wants to talk to you. And I went, who? Tell him to come in. He goes, no, he's in a car. He needs to talk to you. And he goes, you need to come outside. And I went, all right. So I get up. I was like, the fuck's going on? I don't know anybody. Nobody. The only people that know I'm even here is like Treon, and I'm working for him. Like, who stops? And nobody's stopping by the halfway. Who knows where the halfway house is?
Right.
I walk outside. Remember how everybody used to stand outside and smoke?
Yes.
There's like 20.
Around the tree.
Yeah, exactly. There's 20 guys standing outside smoking like this, staring. The guy that I told you about, the concert promoter, is in a white Lamborghini with the top off. His girlfriend is driving the car, blonde, blue-eyed. I walk out and I see him, and I walk over, and he goes, Matt Cox. He goes, come here. I walk over and I go, hey, what's going on? I kind of recognized him. He'd sat through my real estate class a couple times. We'd had lunch a few times. Like, I don't really remember him that much, but he remembered me. He said, hey man, I'm so-and-so. I was in your real estate class. Do you remember me? And I was like, yeah, man, what's going on? Like, I kind of remembered him. I was like, yeah, that was like a long time. He goes, yeah, it was a few years ago. I told you I'd look you up. He said, I looked you up. Every once in a while I would go on BOP, and I saw that you were going to be in the halfway house. He said, I knew it said Orlando. You were going to be in Orlando. He said, so I checked, and sure enough, you were here. I told my girl we had to go by. He said, man, do you need anything? I said, no, man. I said, I can't. I'm not even supposed to be talking to you, bro. I said, like, they got videos. Like, you're going to get me violated. He goes, well, how can I talk to you? And I said, man, I work at a gym, and I told him the name of the gym and this. And I'm sitting there talking to a guy in a Lamborghini in the halfway house parking lot with all these guys smoking cigarettes. Like, what the hell is going on? I go, bro, honestly, I can't. I said, I work at a gym. It's called, Cultist 24/7 Fitness. So look it up, 24/7 Fitness. I'll be there tomorrow. And I turn around. He goes, all right, I got you. And I walked off. Called me like 3 days later. He called the gym, talked to me, got my phone number, came by the gym. We talked for a while. Pulls up in his Lamborghini. Yeah. I was just like, this is my life. I didn't you know what I mean? This is insane. You know, I've met since I went to prison, like I've met 4 or 5 guys that have Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
You know?
I've met 2.
Yeah, it's outrageous. Like I didn't know these people before. Where were these people before?
And
when I had money.
You were in a low.
Yeah.
I'm in a pen and a medium.
Yeah, there shouldn't have been no guys with Lamborghinis and pins and mediums. That's insane.
No,
Those are violent guys.
It's none of them.
No. Oh.
One of them you introduced me to, which was the guy you sent me to Miami for, the one with the liquid.
Oh yeah.
He pulled up in his Lamborghini. I'm like, what the?
Yeah. Good times.
And the other one is who does my daughter's hair.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Now these are all like prison guys with Lamborghinis. Yeah. Well, no, not all of them.
Well, you know, prison is the great equalizer. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, it because Conrad Black was at Coleman Low.
Yeah.
And he's a multi-billionaire.
Yeah. Oh, I've met. There've been a few billionaires. Listen, I've met like 3 guys. I want to say I feel like it's 3 guys. I know for sure it is. I think it's 3 guys that worked at NASA. 3 guys that worked at NASA that I met that worked at NASA that were all in there. All of them pictures. I'm not saying I don't know if there's a correlation there, but the fact that you meet one person in real world that worked at NASA is odd. Like how often does that happen? Even if you lived in Florida, that's right. Odd. To meet 3? Listen, the military dorm, my buddy Pete said the military dorm, out of the entire military dorm, there's like 32 to 35 guys that don't have charges for pictures. Out of 150 guys, there's close to 120 that are there for pictures.
I just saw that in the paper the other day about a raid and with the pictures. Didn't I show you when I got the message where it comes through like, "Hi, my name is such and such. I want to talk with you."
No, I get that all the time. I get where it's just a random text. It's like, hey, John, or hey, Sally, and you're like, this isn't Sally. Oh, what's your name? Stop it. Stop it. I don't know what you're doing. I don't have time for this foolishness.
I don't even respond to those. I'm talking, I get a text message or a messenger request. I told you about that one time and like, "Hi, I'm 16 and I'm blah." I'm like, oh my God.
Whoa. Right. No, I don't get that far. Like I have gotten.
Well, no, because I'm like, oh, she's pretty. Let me. Yeah. You're like, oh.
Smash the stand, start jumping on it.
Yeah.
I just got a random text just now. Probably coupled with a picture. Hi, my name is John. No.
To me, all that's in entrapment. That like.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to put those out. Get the hell out of here, man. I read a case where that happened to somebody. I'm trying to remember what was the circumstance behind that.
I remember a case that there was a first time that like the guy, because supposedly in the federal system, entrapment is not a defense. Like they don't allow you
to say I was entrapped.
I was entrapped.
Simply because that's what they're doing.
Because that's what they're doing. Like I hate it when you use what they're doing against them. So this is a guy that owned a piece of land that was right next to a piece of a federal park, right? Like a national park. And the park wanted to buy his land. And he, for 20 years or something, he refused to sell it. And suddenly, some new park administrators had come on board and they were talking about expanding the park. And they were like, well, this is the park that we want. And they were trying to like say, we're going to take it. And he was saying, you don't have to have it. Like you can't use eminent domain to take my property. It doesn't benefit the public enough that you need it. You've already got 400,000 acres of land. Like it's just stupid. And he wouldn't sell it. And so suddenly he started getting these emails for a website for pictures. And he deleted it. And then it came again 2 days later, deleted it. Then another one came and deleted it. Then another one came, and every day, we're talking about every day, 4 or 5 a day of these emails saying to visit the website. Very specific, saying what it was. This went on for 90 days. This guy, like, it was something like close to 1,000 times deleted it. Finally, one day he clicked on it. He said, I didn't know how to make it stop. I'd hit the note stop to unsubscribe. And they proved it. He'd done all this. One day he finally clicked on it. And it's something, basically, he said, I flipped through some pictures, he said, very quickly, maybe 5 or 10 pictures. He said, got off the website, clicked the unsubscribe, and deleted it, thinking maybe that will work. Like, it was something along those lines.
Right. He's trying to finalize it, like, get rid of this.
There was like a 60 Minutes about this. The only reason I know it. It was like a
60 Minutes?
60 Minutes or 2020, one of those. And so, and I could be botching the story slightly. But what ended up happening was he gets arrested like 3 days later. They indict him and come and arrest him. And during the negotiations, they're telling him, like, hey, look, like, you to plead guilty. Like, they're trying to get his property. They're trying to use seizure to take his property. He's saying, what are you talking about? Like, seize what? That has nothing to do with this. And I don't even know what happened here. Like, I was trying to get rid of these things. So he goes to trial. Even though his lawyer's saying, you're done. People they're not going to look past the fact that you clicked on it. He goes to trial and he wins, which was insane. Because he did click on it and he did look at the images. And that's all the law says. But right. It was enough that his lawyer had put together enough of a defense to say it's outrageous how many times they hammered him and bombarded him with this. And so he was able to win an entrapment style claim.
Right.
And he ended up winning, but and they showed also that the FBI was targeting him very specifically. Like, yeah, they were trying to get him hemmed up so that they could get a hold of his land somehow, get some leverage. Now, they were never able to get a specific person or anything, but it was pretty clear, and he ended up winning it.
Good,
right? But like you said,
surprised he didn't end up going to prison anyway.
Right, but that almost never happens. So I'm saying, like, the idea that he could win that defense. It almost never happens. Never. So that's an example that. I tell you another time, I knew a guy that, and this was pretty well documented too. This is like totally off the subject. But anybody that's watching this far would probably be interested. The point is that this guy he was buying credit card information, and the guy said, "Hey, what about getting some pictures?" I think we all know what kind of pictures we're talking about. And the guy said, hey, man, I sell pictures. I sell videos. I have pictures of this. And he was like, oh, bro, I'm not interested in that. I'm trying to get, you advertised on this website that you had credit card information. Like, that's who he thought he was contacting.
Right.
And it somehow or another, it wasn't that. Like, they were like, well, we don't have that. He ended up getting an FBI agent that was getting this up, doing the, trying to get people to being interested in this other thing. So he ends up saying no. And finally the guy says, I have bootleg videos of new movies and I have the credit card information you want. So he says,
trying to hit him with a double.
Well, so he says, the bootleg videos were just like bootleg videos from movies. So he dropped the other thing. And then he bought it. They sent it to him. He gets it. In the information, they had put like JPEGs of photographs of young people. They indict him, arrest him. They come and arrest him, grab his computer. He's got the images on there. They showed that he did look at them for a few seconds apiece. But in his mind, he said, did I look at them? Yes. He said, I didn't know what they were because I told him over and over again I wasn't interested in that. He did take a plea, by the way. He ended up taking a plea because he said, my lawyer was like, you're so screwed because the law says if you simply have possession, you're already guilty. They go, and you did have possession and you did look at the pictures and you looked at them too long. Like if you look at them for more than like 4 seconds or something or 6 seconds, there's a length of time for you to look at it, realize what you're looking at is wrong, and delete it. He looked at it for longer. And he didn't delete them. They were like, so it's still on your computer. You didn't try and delete them. You're guilty. So he just took a plea. He got like, I don't know what it was, 5 years, 6 years, whatever it was. For just a few. Yeah, look, see? Like, and people say, like, well, what do you get so freaked out if somebody's trying to send you a message? Or, hell, you talk to Bozak. Bozak's like, he's like, anybody that tries to contact me that I think is even remotely too young, I delete. It's like, boom, no.
Yeah. And they sneak up on you. I have a buddy, my old cellie, that on his Facebook page, he sent me a couple of them. I'm like, what? I go, what is this? Oh, this is my girlfriend. I'm like, hey, don't send me any more.
Yeah, anybody that looks even remotely.
Yes.
And what's so funny, too, is like you could be 25 years old and send me a picture. 25-year-olds, to me, look like they're 12. You know, like the older you get, the younger everybody else looks. So if some girl said, oh, I'm 25, I'd be like, this chick looks like she's 12 years old. You know?
So, yeah.
So, yeah, I could imagine being, because I hear these horror stories.
Well, I wasn't around them too. The ones I was around were probably successful. They weren't just picture watchers.
No, they're
creators.
They were diddlers too. We had the hands,
diddlers on the roof.
Yeah, hands on and hands off.
Yeah.
You know that dude you were talking to? Yeah, you know he's hands on, right? Oh man, are you serious?
Nah, no hands on would be there at all.
Oh, at your place?
At your place?
No, at the low?
At the low.
Yeah, they were there.
The hands on?
Yeah. Yeah, these are guys like brought somebody across state lines. Yeah, I told you. Didn't I ever tell you about
it couldn't have been a full rape.
No, this is a low.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I don't know about the full. This is somebody who made the attempt or was actually showed up someplace.
Right. The ones that I saw were absolutely hands-on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, listen, there was a guy in Germany who flew from Germany to the United States thinking he was meeting like a 14-year-old boy or something. Flew all the way there. And it's legal in Germany, by the way. Like the age of consent was like 14. The boy was 14. He flies all the way over here, gets arrested, and says, hey, I haven't done anything wrong. I was in my country. They said, you flew to the United States. He then goes to the German consulate and tries to get help. They wouldn't lift a finger for him. He's like, it's not illegal in Germany. Like, I didn't do it. And the other thing is in Germany, like, you didn't do anything. To him, it's like, I just showed up. I didn't do it. In Germany, you would have to have done something. They were like, nope, 25 years.
America, when America tells them like we're keeping this one, they're just the consulate's kind of like, oh well, there's nothing we can do. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, not that he's not a weirdo, but
is he a weirdo?
I mean, you get to a point where it's like everybody's a weirdo. Everybody I met was just like odd. It's like everybody. You just meet people. It's just. It's so, I hate to say that I would, started to try and figure out what people's charges were. Like and they would lie, they always use fraud. They always say, what are you here for? Fraud. And you why can't you say something you could pull off? And because, very quickly it's like, oh, what kind of fraud? Credit card fraud. You were charged with credit card fraud? Yes. They actually said credit card fraud? Yeah, it was credit card fraud. Well, there's no federal charge for credit card fraud. So it had to be access device fraud. It had to be like if you're going to lie about my field of expertise,
learn something.
Research.
That's right.
Like you can't say
fraud.
Cannabis. I was receiving cannabis in the mail. Say that. You don't have to know anything.
Well, I will give them credit. Like if they're at the low and they're saying fraud, that's actually security level appropriate. Because most of the time, drugs are medium and up.
Right. There was guys guys would work their way down from the medium,
right,
to the low.
But yeah, I'm here for drugs. They probably feel like they get called out for drugs too fast anyway.
Yeah. Well, I don't think listen, it doesn't matter. You talk to these guys for 10 minutes, and anyways, after 10 minutes, you're just like, no, man. Even if you talk the talk, like, I'm sorry, bro. I don't believe you.
You're not a drug addict.
You're not here for that. Yeah. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, I got all the lingo. Stop it.
I've been watching them. Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah.
Offer.
You can start. Bro, that's all I think about.
The ones that you envy? Is that what that's?
Oh, listen, I hear scam. Are we recording?
Yes.
Okay. So I hear scams all the time where I see it, I read a little article, or somebody tells me about their scam, or I'll see something on the news, and it's just like, oh man, like if they didn't. The problem with most people is you read this scam and you're like, that's a good scam. Like, what went wrong? Like, he did it in his own name.
Yes.
Or he did it in his sister's name, or one of his buddies. Like, what are you doing? And then it breaks down where you're like, why didn't they just open a bank account in somebody else's name, or in a fake person's name, or in a homeless person or whatever's name, and dump the money in there and remove it? And you're like, well, and then I always have to remind myself, like, bro, not everybody, and this is going to sound arrogant, has your skill set. Like, not everybody can figure out how to get a driver's license in somebody else's name, or an ID or whatever.
Not everybody's multifaceted, where they just have a scam and they like a pit bull, they lock on it.
Right. They're like, I could probably make $10,000, $20,000 on this, not realizing, okay, you could make 20 grand.
Yes.
But 3 months from now, you're in front of a judge, or you're just getting handcuffed and you're waiting to be in front of a judge.
Yeah.
And then you do 6 months or a year, and now you're on your probation, and then you start looking back on it and you go, Jesus, God Almighty, for 30 grand or 20 grand.
I just put a year in jail.
I spent a year in jail.
Right.
I lost all my shit. People never realize, like, going to jail, who gives a shit? I don't give a shit. I'll go to jail for fucking 6 months if I can come back where I left off.
Right.
The problem is, you're coming back, you've lost everything. And what's even worse is that the people are the ones that took it.
Yes.
Like nobody came in and boxed up my shit and stuck it in a storage unit, or even in their garage.
It's pilfered. You get absolutely robbed. Everyone's taking everything.
You see somebody 2 years later, and you're like, "Hey, Jimmy, is that my shirt?"
Maybe. I got it from Goodwill.